And can you align my root chakra?
All right, this shit's going. This shit's live.
Can you feel me?
We have
dog.
got crossfades.
What's
the ceremonial sticks going?
What's a crossfade?
I just did one right there. Okay, technically we're
Up and running.
we are up and running. And
Are you sure this time?
yeah.
You've been up and running around in circles for 30 damn minutes. So we're gonna use this fancy incense burner you got?
No. Oh yeah. Shit.
I don't know what you got going here.
Oh, that's how it works. So there's like a central canal,
It's like a central canal.
and once it's in, it's really in.
Yeah.
And then the smoke billows slowly.
Look at this motherfucker. Oh shit. I got the old potty mouth going like nobody's business. Welcome to the ceremonial I Don't Know For Sure show with Max. I'm Gene.
What's happening?
I'm Steven.
We got Steven here on camera at 3. I think we're doing pretty good. We got the Periscope going.
We are live in so many different ways
I'm
right
excited. Yeah, you know, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. And I gotta admit, I think I'm in just slightly over my head with all this equipment right now.
So every week we start, he's fiddling with something that doesn't work for like the first half hour, and then we just give up on it. And it appears everything's working right now.
But I think we're good, man. I got the live dashboard on YouTube going.
I can appreciate that.
I'm gonna unmute that.
I've been learning new techniques for my practice, and it feels a lot like bashing my head against a wall.
Oh man, tell me about it, right?
Yeah. Especially when you watch one of your peers or one of your instructors do something and they make it look so simple and they're just looking at you like, why don't you get this?
I've done it a million times and I can't explain it any easier. Why can't you get it? Yeah, I'm still kind of messing with this right now because I'm not sure where the live stream is at the moment. Well, I hope it's working.
Here we go. It's all working, ladies and gentlemen.
It should be working.
Should I go to YouTube right now and try and...
You could try.
We have
need to
those
connect
capabilities.
to your Wi-Fi?
Okay, no, I can't really give that to you right now because we're live
Right.
over the phone. Not that it matters much.
You should
but,
text me, bro. Just kidding.
Yeah, I don't even know where my phone... It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
He would tell you his Wi-Fi password, but it's the same password he uses for everything.
Yeah, I don't want you getting to my bank account. It's one of those fancy passwords. Okay, I think we're good here. Yeah, okay. Well, anyway, how's it going, you guys?
Going well.
How we been?
How's your Thanksgiving?
Well, let's see. I drove to LA. Super congested.
See the folks?
See the folks. Folks are doing good. No family there other than my folks and me and my wife.
No brother, no sister?
No, they bailed on us. They're it's interesting to kind of put my fingers on the pulse with my family because it's always ebbed and flowed with respect to how we kind of get together and hang out and stuff. And it seems like everybody's kind of detached and nobody wants to hang out with each other, you know, in my family. They're kind of like, they're all recluses. And
it's probably because they're all in the Antelope Valley.
That's probably one big thing. You ever been out there, Steven?
Which part of the valley?
It's
the Antelope.
Yeah, it's the high desert area. And
yes. Where the safaris are. Yes.
North LA County. Yeah. It's one of those places that's...
if you've never been there, you're doing all right.
Yeah, you've probably done a good thing. Yeah, don't get stuck there, that's for sure.
I mean, we grew up there. It's not a terrible place, but it's a lot worse now than it was when we were
Yeah.
I grew up in Orange County, south of LA.
Yeah.
And I've ventured into LA on a number of occasions.
All right.
But not the Antelope region.
Yes.
The region of antelopes.
Yeah, this is probably like 45 minutes north of LA. Almost, where
above
Santa
Malibu,
above anything that's cool. When you get to where everything is like dirt,
Yeah.
kind of dying,
Yeah.
you'll find Palmdale, where the crosses line the road.
Yeah. That's kind of the way it is out there. the high desert is a unique place, unlike any other place, in my opinion. Have you ever played that game Grand Theft Auto 3, 4, 5, the last one that they made for the PlayStation 4?
I got started on Grand Theft Auto 19, but I'm sure there's some similarity.
They did a really good job of recreating the desert. Yeah, just feel free to adjust that thing. It's a little sensitive. That's why I got all of those bean bags on there. So yeah, you're doing a good job.
If you see like weird desert scenes in movies, it's 90% of the time right there in Lake LA where we grew up.
Yeah.
They have a couple movie sets out there, and it's just like 45-minute drive from Hollywood. So pretty much any time a movie's like, we need some desert weirdo creepy people, they're like, well, I know just the place.
You said there's a lake?
No.
I was going to say, first you're telling me there's antelopes in Los Angeles, and now you're going to tell me there's a lake. I'm getting confused.
These people are delusional.
You remember the story? You remember the story on Lake LA?
I remember seeing the lake when I was like a little kid, just one time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think I do.
Oh, wow.
I barely remember. It was like a man-made lake that was there for I don't know how long.
For a while. It was pretty popular. So I think it was the 70s. Somebody smart, a developer, decided to put a lake out in the middle of the desert and then sell real estate around the lake.
Smart.
And so the idea was this would be your weekend getaway.
Lake Los Angeles.
From, the hectic lifestyle of living in LA.
Lake of the Angels.
It was Lake of the Angels. It was the Angels Lake. Yeah, so they paid a farmer to pump water into a big hole. That's what they did. That's what they did. And they sold a bunch of real estate out there. And people soaked it up, but they didn't want to pay to keep the water in the lake. They found that it was too expensive, so that the lake dried up because it's in the fucking desert.
Yeah.
That's what happens out there. So now you end up with this community of, all the rich people that invested in this place moved away. Clearly, it was like a bad investment. But
I think the big thing that people moved there for were people that worked at like Edwards Air Force Base, people that were involved with Lockheed. Lockheed Martin that's where they built the Stealth.
Huge
right
aerospace following out there.
And that's, I think, was the first community of people that really built up that area.
Yeah, you did get a pretty decent culture of aerospace people out there. But yeah, I mean, out there that's where my parents live. So when all the over the years, it's just become a community. It just gets cheaper and cheaper the further out you go, and we bought a house out there. It's like my family bought a house out there, and it's not bad. I mean, if you were to remove the poverty and the drugs from there, it's actually not a bad place, except for when it's windy and blowing. It's kind of a nice place. The desert and stuff is really it's fancy. I want to say fancy, but it's really a peaceful area.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's not bad. I was down there earlier, and I thought, why do I keep hating this place? And it's not so much the place; it's the riffraff that live there.
Yeah.
You end up in North LA County because you can't survive in LA.
Well, what they did was they built a bunch of low-income housing, and then they advertised for it like in the worst parts of LA. Like, get away, escape the gang lifestyle, and escape all this. Move to Palmdale. And so what happened was you just got a lot of the same like inner city bad neighborhood problems right there.
Yeah. So it's an interesting place. But anyway, I was down there, hung out 24 hours for the wife and stuff. And my parents are great. It's really good to see them. It's really good to.
How are they doing?
Good. They're working and trying to get healthy. Last time I talked about how they're both a little overweight. They're in their 50s. They're like most Americans. They're not thinking about food and health. And my dad's come down with some medical problems. Ended up with like some bladder cancer. And a reality check, it's like you cannot live like you've been living if you want to survive this life. So I went down there a couple of months ago for like just a quick few hours, and then I got them on a program that my buddy, the fitness program that I was on. I got my buddy to hook them up, and I get back up there for Thanksgiving, and they've lost weight. And
are they sticking to it?
They're sticking to it.
Yeah,
they're sticking to it because they have to stick to it.
Yeah.
I think they're both really concerned. They're really concerned about their future, and they have every right to be also, because you can't just eat cheeseburgers every day and expect
bullshit.
Expect it to be
Who made these rules?
Yeah,
come on.
There's no biological compromise here. Gotta eat right, man.
McDonald's swears that I'm loving it. That's all I know.
They're pretty good. They're pretty good at making you feel like you love it. You love it while you're eating it.
Do you? Do you really?
Probably
And
not.
then I usually regret it like 30 seconds after I'm done.
It's kind of a shameful exercise.
Yeah.
And if you're not ashamed for eating at McDonald's, then you need to kind of reevaluate yourself.
I think it all begins at the crinkling of the unwrapping. You're like, oh my God.
The glistening of the
what has just occurred here?
the glistening of the grease as you're about to indulge in a $2.99 hamburger. You're just thinking, wow, how'd I get here?
I do like Chipotle. Aren't they owned by the same people that own McDonald's?
No, not entirely. No. What Chipotle decided to do was partner with McDonald's for a period of time in order so that they could learn their large-scale systems. And then they broke off, and so from like 2006 to 2011, they were related, and now they are no longer related.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. Now I don't feel so bad about eating Chipotle.
Yeah, no shit. They were on, the dude that runs Chipotle was on Farmers Inc. or wasn't it? What was it called? Farmers Inc.
I think so.
Or
Farm Inc.
It was kind of the farming, yeah, something to do with factory farming. But yeah, he was like the smart guy. He was like the smart fast food guy. And he was cutting up chickens and pigs and stuff. And
he's doing it the smart way.
Definitely branded himself in a very organic light.
Yeah. I don't know what the deal is with old Chipotle these days, where they're at, and if they sold their souls to the devil, or it's kind of hard for me to think that you could go totally corporate like that and not sell your soul to the devil somehow. You know, that's just my thought process.
There are certainly compromises to be made when you start to scale at that level, there's no doubt. But it is impressive to see that they can, to some extent, maintain that level of quality throughout their system. Not that they haven't been plagued by some issues as of late with food safety, but I mean...
Didn't they have some E. coli or Ebola?
Yeah, they're not doing pork anymore because they couldn't source their pork consistently without having problems, I guess. I think E. coli was one of those problems.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I don't think you can go there now and get like a carnitas burrito anymore. Well, it used to be.
I'd rather they not serve it than...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, pigs are pretty smart too, man. They're like really smart animals. I feel kind of bad when I see the little bastards get fucking slaughtered.
I really don't eat pork, hardly ever.
I don't
have like a thing, well, I don't, but I try not to for that reason.
Scored some ham over Thanksgiving with my mom. She made this big ham for 4 of us. 4 of us. And brought some home, and that was the first time I had some ham in like a very long time, and I was like, fuck, this is good. I can see why it's such a problem.
I eat bacon every once in a while.
Yeah, if you saturate any meat in sugar and salt, it's gonna
That's what it is, because it tasted sugary and salty, and
you're like,
I'm like,
great.
This is good.
Need another hit?
Need another hit of this crack cocaine, sir. Yeah, but
so that was your Thanksgiving.
That was mine, man.
Did you come back one day?
I was there for less than 24 hours. Yeah. Well, here's the problem. I mean, I love hanging out and love my folks and I love seeing them. But we all get into the routine of sitting in front of the TV.
Yeah.
And I'm part of me is like, I mean, I love seeing my folks, but I just don't like sitting in the house in the living room all day long. And the same thing would happen if they probably came here. I mean, we might get out and go do something, but most often, most people are just comfortable being lazy. And
why don't you go down there and like have a plan? Say, let's go do this.
Yeah, that's one thing that we should do more often is plan. Well, good news though. Check this out. So we were talking about camping in the last show.
I was just about to bring that up.
And this is something that I brought up with my folks. Right, we're talking about because I haven't done anything, and I told them that I'm like, dude, I've been just fucking chucking away at the computer, and not doing anything. And my dad was talking about how he'd like to go up to Shasta Lake and rent a boathouse.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Rent a boathouse on Shasta Lake, and have just kind of a decent little vacation. And I was like, man, we definitely got to do that. We definitely got to go to the Kern River and Lake Isabella, and we got to do some camping and some fishing and stuff. That would be so much fun,
You got to take the initiative.
So when have you booked the boat for? That's really the step that needs to happen.
So the next,
put some money into it.
It's a good point, and I said I was like, we got to do this. We just got to kind of nail it down. So, I think the next time we talk, it'll be a camping trip talk. Get some going. It's just good to see my folks and reconnect and then go and do some stuff with them. And so I'm kind of happy for that. I almost feel like I had a lot going on in my head, the internal dialogue I was having about my family And you know how I just had talked about how we tend to distance ourselves in our families.
Yeah.
I think it's something ingrained in us. There is some characteristic because it's all through my family. All the extended people, they're just all like, we don't want to get along, or not get along so much, but there's
don't want to be a part of it.
There's no family reunions. There's not people like making the extra effort to get together to see each other.
Well, where do they live? Where are you guys, like?
5 hours away, 4 or 5 hours away. You know, and everybody down there is probably relatively close to each other too.
There's no excuse. I mean, my extended family lives in Illinois or Minnesota.
Yeah.
Or New York or New Jersey, and so it becomes a little more difficult in that instance. But yeah, if you live that close, curious.
I know, man. I think it's more a sense of I don't want to do it.
What if you took responsibility and organized it?
Yeah, see, that probably wouldn't happen either, right? Because everybody in my family's dirt ass broke, always. Always has been. And trying to get somebody to like coordinate, if it's going to cost money, they're not going to do it.
Would it cost money?
Yeah, I got to travel.
But if they live like an hour, they just travel by gas.
Yeah, gas. Gas is money.
Okay.
Yeah, you're talking about a level of poverty you're probably not used to in this circle.
I suppose that's true.
Yeah, most of us, we don't think about $20 or $100. I was down there and they were talking about $20, $100. You know, so it's like, oh yeah, this is another world I'm not used to.
Is he still doing construction at all?
Working for the school system.
Yeah.
After his entire adult life, landed a job working for somebody else. See, my dad has always been
Like a contractor, right?
he's been an entrepreneur, just unfortunately unable to stay consistent and successful and thriving as an entrepreneur. He's I understand the desire to do that, but you also got to have kind of like the tools in the tool bag to make sure you can stay consistent with it, you know. And so it's always been a rough road for my family. But they just landed a job. My dad landed a job working at the little Mojave school system or something. So happy about that job. He loves it, and there's a future. That's what he likes to see. He's like, I can pay off my house. I could, he's like, I got things rolling and going, and I got insurance for the first time in my life. I can go get health care, and
I'll cheers to that.
Yeah, so that's good. So I'm glad to hear all those good things. And I think that honestly is one of the reasons why I avoided all of that too, is because it was always bad news. It was always like something is a struggle, something is harder than it really should be, something is just...
That's what the place is for me too, why it's negative. Because every time I have to deal with anything down there, it's usually something bad. And I think that's the reason.
When you develop that association,
yeah,
you just try to avoid it, and I've spent the last few years avoiding that place, so... Yeah, so it was good. It was good to get down there. What'd you end up doing?
I decided to avoid any sort of cooking by enjoying the fruits of other people's labor.
That's a first.
So I bounced to 3 different venues. The first for some appetizers and wine, and then the second for a dinner and a nap.
Nice.
I definitely decided to take a nap at this person's house.
Yeah.
Totally fine. Probably not so much on any day other than Thanksgiving, but Thanksgiving is like the day of naps. It is expected.
Yeah.
Tryptophan.
Almost anticipated. And then ended up back in my house where I discovered the best tasting turkey of my entire life.
At your place?
Prepared by a man who barely cooks and can barely cook, period. Yet he had pulled off, with masterful execution, this smoked turkey on a wood pellet smoker that we just purchased. And
really?
I tell you, the flavor, the moisture. Gentlemen, I don't know that I'll ever advise people to prepare a turkey in any other way.
Have you been to Gizditch Ranch? Or I'm not sorry, the Corralitos Market?
I have not.
They have it's like a world famous smoked turkey that you can get there. They smoke them they smoke a couple of hundred. They ship them out. You pick them up. They sell out every year. Gizditch is in Watsonville, or Corralitos Market.
Gizditch?
Yeah, it's like out there in the...
Also famous for their berries and their pies.
Gizditch Ranch is super famous for their...
Well, now I understand why smoked turkey would have such an appeal.
Yeah.
Prior to this experience, I was like, I don't know.
Ain't shit.
Maybe.
You got shit on a fried turkey.
But I tell you, I came home and I was like, I'm so happy I didn't overeat because
Yeah.
I'm definitely having 2 servings of this shit right now.
Yeah. That's the way to
I'm
do it.
I'm still full from Thanksgiving.
Are you?
Yeah, my buddy Curtis, he smoked a turkey as well, and that was really good. I don't know if I don't think I've ever had smoked turkey before.
It's a process.
Or, I mean, not on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
It's a 4-hour process.
Yeah, it's a process. You
gotta
gotta
like massage the goodness underneath the skin, and then like
you gotta slowly cook it at 200 degrees forever. It seems
4
like.
hours.
Is it just 4? I thought
think
like it would.
so.
I thought it'd be like 12 hours because
Probably the longer the better. I mean,
Yeah.
it gets more flavor.
I used to, I wasn't really into smoking like briskets, and not briskets so much. That's a really hard thing to actually get done right. But like a pork shoulder, really really popular, like North Carolina, South Carolina barbecue style.
Whoa.
And that's going to be one of those offset fireboxes with a big 50-gallon drum type of thing, and then that you're constantly feeding it wood chips like hickory or something, and you want to keep the temperature regulated at like 200 degrees, because if you go any higher than that, you're not smoking anymore, you're cooking. And you want that smoke to kind of like penetrate that meat over hours. It's like an hour per like pound or something.
What?
Yeah, to do it right. Like if you ever go to like a real smokehouse, like barbecue joint, like there's going to be some crusty old guy who's in the back tending a fire like 24/7, and they're constantly cooking. The stuff that cooks faster, like the ribs, right? Because they're just kind of lean. There's just bones. But if you start getting into like the roasts and stuff, it takes some serious amount of time. It takes some time, and yeah, I was really into that, but it takes a long time. I used to I'd polish off like a 12-pack of beer. I'd get started at like 4 a.m. This is when I was in the military, and I lived in the base housing out at Fort Ord, and this was my hobby. My hobby away from like making music on my computer was smoking like pork shoulders, and I would get up at like 4 a.m. And the shoulder had already been sitting in a marinade or a rub for like 4 hours, or not 4 hours, but 4 days, like ahead of time. So I'd whip it out, and then I would get that thing going, and I would crack my first beer at like 4 a.m, like getting started, and that thing would go until like 4 p.m. And I had to polish it off like a 12-pack of beer, just sitting there listening to
4 to 4, an hour, beer an hour.
Yeah, about a beer an hour.
You gotta stay hydrated, Gene.
Hey, it's the proper thing to do when you're a semi-professional, when you're an amateur barbecuer.
I like smoking jerky.
Jerky.
That's what we always used to smoke.
Yeah, never really did that.
You've had some of our jerky, right? Remember I got it.
Yeah, it was in the oven. Would your dad do it in the oven?
No, he did it in the smoker.
Would he? Okay.
That little Indian or little chief or whatever smoker out there in the front.
Yeah, I remember.
I just
that.
dehydrate it now because
Easier.
Yeah,
it's kind of the same
do it all
thing,
in the house.
really.
Still comes out good.
Yeah, we used to. My dad would go deer hunting, like when I was a kid. See, he grew up in Oregon. I grew up in Oregon, right?
Yeah.
So, living off the land, literally living off the land. Like my dad would hunt and fish all day. And
What part of Oregon? Bend?
southeastern Oregon, like Hermiston, Umatilla. It's the Columbia. The Columbia River kind of cuts across
Grants Pass.
I'm gonna Google it right now.
Yeah, you should Google it. It's kind of like the desert, believe it or not, but with a bunch of rivers and shit running through it.
It's like the desert, but with water.
It is. You'd go up here. You go. This could be Lancaster.
Wow.
Not just the terrain. The terrain. The environment could be like Lancaster.
Like tumbleweeds and Joshua trees.
Yeah, minus the Joshua trees, but it's dry, arid kind of desert. But there's creeks and stuff flowing through it. But yeah, he used to bring home. All this venison meat, and we would have jerky. That was like the best part as a kid. The jerky's the best part. Yeah. And oh man, I remember it was so good. But yeah, it's an interesting place out there. A lot of methamphetamine too.
I think we started talking this about the crosses, and we never got to what the crosses were even for on the side of the road.
Oh right.
But it was like where people had passed away in auto accidents.
Yeah, that's a crazy thing. Like, what do you think causes? You think they're you think the accidents happen because people are trying to pass each other and they end up on head-ons?
I think it's out there in the desert and people aren't paying attention because you're on miles of road where there's no signs or no anything.
Yeah.
Right? And they're just blowing through stop signs at 2 a.m.
I was doing that actually. I was doing that on my way there. I would stop in the middle of the intersection because I would just like, oh fuck, there's a stop sign, and there used to never.
I think there might also be the strange effect where you tend to look at the only thing in your line of sight, and if that one thing is a telephone pole and you decide to wrap yourself around that,
it's just like you're just attracted to it.
It's really hard to not hit it when you're looking at it, and sometimes I think that's the case.
There's an abnormally high amount of death in that area. There's just you can feel the stress in that area.
What if it's condemned? What if there's spirits?
Maybe it is. I don't know. I doubt it.
Okay. Well, remember the street that I lived on growing up, Ronar. So on this one street, there may have been like 10, 15 houses.
Yeah.
So the house on the corner, a guy hung himself.
Yeah.
A house, 2 houses up from that, it was that family that put their daughter into the closet. She was like mentally handicapped, and so they had her chained in there, and she starved to death.
Oh my God.
That was Bryce's old house. I don't know if you remember him.
Yeah.
So then there was the people right across from our house. There was a murder-suicide, and this is all in the 10 years that I lived there. There was a murder-suicide right across the street. The woman that lived there ran across the street to my next door neighbor, the butcher from the Saddleback Market.
Yeah.
And had him call 911. And like a month later, his wife stabbed him, and he came to our house, and we had to call 911.
Oh my God.
And that's just all within a few years, all on one street.
You could see, you can definitely get a sense for the vibe out there, just the type of people that are drawn out to the desert. It's an interesting dynamic because you have normal people. Like I said, you have industry there, right? So there was a time where there was aerospace. There's legitimately high quality, decent people out there living out there, making money, kind of sustaining that whole place. And then you have weirdos, mental health problems, people who are like paranoid schizophrenics and drug addicts and just live in life of poverty. It's the kind of place where you're driving out in the middle of the desert and you pass like an acre of shit. There's literally garage doors, a fence made out of garage doors, and then on the other side of that garage door fence is going to be like a single wide trailer, and then an acre full of beat down cars and old munitions from like Vietnam and just crazy weird shit out there.
And one guy had a buffalo in Lake LA. Do you remember that?
I didn't.
It wasn't far from where your parents lived.
Like a live buffalo?
Yeah, live buffalo in the backyard.
Get it there. That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'd be wondering, like, where did that buffalo come from? He probably traded it for something.
It was just like a pet buffalo. It was there for years.
Just a pet buffalo. I remember I used to live in that little town called Rosemond, California. That's how we ended up in the Antelope Valleys. We were like traveling gypsies. We were on our way from the state of Texas because the work had dried up, and so there was, if you could imagine, a family of 6. All of the kids are probably under the age of 11, 12
And your
years.
parents were really young.
My parents are in their 20s.
I think they were like 16 when you were born?
Yeah, 15, 16 years old. 4 kids,
Are you the oldest then?
Yeah. Trailer, a 26-foot trailer is what we lived in. And it was being towed by a piece of junk, like Oldsmobile car. Like this old car with different colored fenders and different colored doors, and that's what got us from like the Texas to California. I remember, this is what we used to do. When the car would break down, my dad and my mom would find like a swimming pool, like a public swimming pool, and they would pull into the park. My mom would take all of us kids and we'd go swim for the day. To us, we're like living the dream. This is great.
Right, the car broke down.
It's fun. Well, we didn't realize the car was broke down. These are like stories that my dad told me later, and he's like,
that's how they kept the kids busy.
That's how they kept the kids busy.
Yeah.
And we'd go swim while my dad repaired the car. Like, he had to fix this car, get this car up and running. If he couldn't get it going, we were stranded. Like homeless people are stranded with science
Make it
going,
or break it.
Make it or break it. And so we would stop. I remember we stopped a lot. So that car was broken down like a shit ton. But yeah, we ended up in Rosemond, and the place is weird. Like, we ended up in this crazy old little trailer park, like out by Willow Springs Raceway. Remember that place?
Yeah.
Willow Springs. And it was another one of these situations where I pretty much was like, I had the free reign to do whatever I wanted. I was telling Max, like, the last time, as a kid, I pretty much just did whatever I wanted. It was like, my dad was probably in Texas working. My mom had all these kids, and I was the oldest. At like 5 or 6, I'm riding my bicycle all over the place, doing whatever I want, getting in trouble, all kinds of shit. The same thing happened when I got to Roseman. Found the wrong kids. Obviously, if you're in a trailer park where your kids are left unattended, you're going to find some bad apples, and that was pretty easy to do. And we got started throwing rocks at cars. You ever do that? Throw rocks at cars as a kid?
I did water balloons, and I got in trouble for that.
Oh man, we were shattering windshields. Oh, we were so bad.
My dad used to drive us around and let us throw water balloons at people.
Really? Yeah, that's a fun.
And he would crack up about it.
I could see that.
Yeah,
I could see that. But yeah, we would. Man, these kids were so bad. Now that I think about it, they broke into the middle school that was right there. During, you remember having in those little book fairs?
Yeah.
As a kid, parents give you like $10, and you can go buy a bunch of stupid erasers and shit.
I loved that shit.
Oh, it's my favorite too.
They give you a little catalog printed on a piece of paper you can practically see through, and you're like, oh, make a mistake, you erase, and you put a hole in it. And you're like, ah.
You could pre-order. Remember, you could pre-order books and stuff. So, so they had one of those going on at the school, so we were like fourth grade, probably fifth grade, and these kids, and this is my crowd. This is who I was hanging out with. They were teaching me all the bad stuff, and I remember one day, man, the cops show up to the trailer park with the kids that I was hanging out with. Like the one time I'm not there is the time they decide to go break into the school and get busted for it. So for stealing and everything else, man. I remember seeing these kids, because it was like two brothers, one older, one younger, and they were living with their dad, who, was probably another construction worker type of character, just kind of, drinking at night and doing his thing, whatever he could do to survive, keep the kids. And he's on the phone. I remember seeing him on the phone with his ex-wife, and just crying because they're going to take his kids away.
Wow.
Kids are going away. Bad kids going away. Dad can't handle them. Mom can't handle them. Property of the state. Goodbye. That was the last I seen of them. But I remember we would take off and we'd go into the desert, and there were certain areas that there were rumors. There were rumors, like kid rumors, like don't go there. There's toxic waste there. Like literally, like
there may have been out there.
We're talking. So this is like the 80s, right? So,
when they did a lot of military testing out there.
So much military testing out there. Edwards Air Force Base is out there. So there's a lot of military testing out there. So yeah, you would run into some properties where there's nobody living on the property. It's more like a place to park a bunch of garbage. And oh man, I remember like. We would go out into the desert on foot and run into fuselages from airplanes and bombshells and big 50-gallon drums full of mystery fluids, those kinds of things. And we would just have a heyday, man. We would just be fucking shit up out there because nobody's going to tell us not to.
Well, did you ever go shooting with us?
Oh, yeah.
So we went out to this place near Edwards Air Force Base where there was this old stone house, probably like 100 years old, that had kind of just been dilapidated, but we'd set up and shoot from there, and they had airplane seats that were sitting out there that they probably tested and just left them out in the desert.
Yeah,
and we would just shoot the hell out of them, and we did this for years.
Yeah.
It must have been a well-known spot because you'd go out there and
riddled.
There's people out there shooting all the time.
Yeah, it's just super riddled with bullets and stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah, and you just find airplane seats sitting out in the desert, or cars just full of bullet holes.
There's so much junk out in the desert. It's insane, man. But I don't know. I don't miss it.
It's a weird spot.
It's peculiar how the government agencies make a habit of not really caring about the waste that they leave behind, and it is baffling to the mind because third-party agencies come in and they have jobs that have been created specifically because of the negligence of the armed forces. And we specialize in disaster cleanup. Oh, how'd that happen? Oh, we don't want to say,
Well, when I was in the Navy, I don't know how your ship was, and I don't know how things have changed since, but we had to be so many miles offshore, and then we could just dump all of our trash right overboard.
Oh, man.
You would just go outside, trash bags, whatever shit you had.
Yeah.
Right over the edge. And their only rule was, I think it was like 50 miles from shore.
Yeah.
Something like that.
That's insane.
And then like shit and piss, you had to be 11 miles, and they could dump all that in the water.
Tanks, yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
And you're just dumping trash out there. And this is, thousands of people every day
Fuck yeah.
I mean, how many people are in the fleet out at sea?
Oh, it's
every
so
single
much.
day?
Just imagine all those huge cruise ships.
I wonder. I mean,
they're doing the same thing.
I wonder if they are still, because this was almost 20
Yeah.
years ago now.
Things may have changed. Yeah, we would throw bags of shit over, and those bags were plastic bags. It wasn't like, hey, make sure it's biodegradable, it's earth friendly. Make sure everything you're throwing overboard is organic. It's going to dissolve someday.
It was whatever you have that's trash. We don't want it in the ship. Get it out of here.
You ever get that? You ever have that job on deployment where you're sorting through all the trash?
I don't know.
So like when you do time in the Navy, and you're new and you've gone to your first ship, they have this
Cranking.
Yeah, they call it mess cranking, right? Yeah. So mess cranking, they call it FSA duty, right?
I like how it's totally
cranking,
very discreet. Like you'd never know that was trash duty based on the name.
Oh yeah, right.
Oh, you got this great job. You're gonna be a cranker.
Yeah, you can be.
Cool. What's that?
We got something for you.
Yeah. And cranking, my cranking was probably different than his cranking.
Yeah.
So I worked in the officers' wardroom and had to serve them food and check their rooms and shit for 6 weeks. How long do you crank when you go to the?
Man, I did two. I had to do two 2-month ones.
Yeah.
I think it was 8 weeks, but then I had to end up doing 2. There's nothing worse when they tell you you're done, and then you're off, and then they go, oh wait, you need to come back. There's not enough people.
So were you already a third class when you were training?
Yeah.
Because I was too. So they put us in the wardroom. So we were essentially the butler for officers.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
Well, one job I had, that was a terrible job too. But one job, collateral duty that they make you do is you sort through. So all the trash from the mess decks go to these trash bins, these huge holding bins. And everything goes in there. There's no real separation. There's no recycling or anything in that nature.
What? They don't have compost?
Oh, they do now. Yeah. But what they would do, is they'd have guys like me go jump into the trash cans, and then start to separate all the plastic.
I like how you went like this, as if you dove right in head first.
Because you kind of have to sometimes. But you're sorting out all of this garbage, all of this plastic and stuff, and it's so you can throw everything overboard. And the stuff that I guess now that I think about it, there were some policies that you're supposed to follow, like separate all the trash and the plastic and stuff, and then
then throw it all over.
Yeah, the plastic got recycled. We had these nasty. You remember those? They had these they had a room dedicated to melting plastic and putting it into little cubed shape, or actually cylinders, these little cylinders, these discs, these little hockey pucks.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
That was another nasty job.
Sounds very healthy.
Fucking gross, man. And I had that job too.
I never had to do that one.
Man,
Did you ever have to do sound and security?
Yeah, that's a good one.
That one was kind of scary though.
Oh, really? What, to go into
you're going
auxiliary rooms and stuff?
Yeah, you're crawling way down into the ship in super dark areas that down ladders 75 feet. You're at the bottom of the ship.
Only sound and security people go there.
At the middle of the night, and you had this it almost looked like a big bullet that big, and it had all these little lines on it.
Yeah,
and it had a fishing reel, so you drop it down these tubes and reel it way down there.
Yeah,
and have to pull it up and see how much water it was accumulating.
And ballast tanks. Yeah, just make sure things were balanced properly. I guess
it was just creepy.
Yeah,
going down in some of those spaces.
Yeah, because we do it once an hour or something. You're on some round.
You're continuously walking around checking different spots on the ship, and underway. Somebody is always constantly doing it.
Yeah.
It's just you have duty on sound and security from 4 to 8.
Yeah.
And then somebody else will take over after you.
It's a 24-hour process constantly going.
I wonder if that's still a thing, or if they've designed mechanisms or sensors that would replace humans.
They could, but they probably haven't done that yet.
Because they got to keep people busy.
They got to keep people. We literally, man, we would literally be out in the middle of the Gulf, the Persian Gulf.
The military is pretty much about just looking busy.
Yeah.
I felt like we had a new captain come over. We had one captain that was really cool for a year or so on the ship. We had a new captain take over, and the guy was an ass. Everybody wanted out of the military because he would come in. A big thing, at least for us, was nobody worked late on Fridays.
Yeah.
And then you always got out.
And
early.
It's still a thing, actually.
Still, this guy came in and said, no one leaves before 4 ever. I don't care if there is no work to do. You'll sit there and clean. And this is everybody.
Yeah.
Will have to sit there and clean something if there's nothing else to do. So he had something which was called sweep time or some shit. Yeah. And it was every single day from 7:30 to 8, everybody had one little spot that they were responsible to clean.
What was that? We had the same thing. It was kind of like some kind of mid sweeps or sweepers, man your brooms. You know?
That's what it was.
It's called sweepers.
And if your spot like was super clean in like 15 minutes because you had a small spot, you just have to sit there and keep doing it.
Just keep looking busy.
Yeah, because there's like the executive officer walks around and inspects everything. He's like,
is there a benefit for a captain to be so anal? Like, is he viewed by his superiors as being extraordinary, or what's the deal? Why?
If some admiral comes to the ship and like, first of all, everybody freaks out. Oh, so someone big is going to come. We all have to like. All our uniforms have to be perfect. And our shoes have to be polished. And that reflects good on the captain. So he could be a dick and be like, you need to have all this shit squared away and everything needs to be good. That way, if some admiral or someone higher than him comes on and sees, oh, your ship is nice and clean and squared away and your people's boots are shine, they hate him.
You're looking good. I think there's definitely some psychology involved, like a good cop, bad cop mentality.
Yeah.
The XO always seemed to be the asshole. Yeah. And then the captain always kind of seemed to be the guy that saved the day. Like he was the good guy.
Who's the XO?
Executive officer. He's kind of like the
vice president of the ship.
Yeah.
Where the captain is the president.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's the idea of conditioning people to stay busy, I think is kind of another mechanism of control.
Yeah.
It's you continuously keep people doing things even if they don't want to do it against their will, but it's a conditioning mechanism.
The kitchen is a lot like that. If you have time to lean, you have time to clean.
Yeah. Right.
And on that note, I don't know what you guys think about everybody having to serve in the military, like the way that Israel forces all of their citizens to. But I think everybody, from my perspective, should work in the food services so that they can appreciate what goes into a meal, what goes into serving another person from the ground up. Starting it as a dishwasher, learning how to cook, because you gain a lot of empathy, a lot of compassion, a lot of understanding for things that you might take for granted or might not be able to relate to. Similarly, you walk away with a set of skills and awareness that I think a lot of people need this day and age, learning how to cook, understanding what it is to, keep the freshest thing in the back and utilize and not waste things.
Yeah, you said it, man. Much. People are such dummies these days. They have no situational awareness whatsoever, for the most part. I think having these like basic understandings, this comprehension of like what goes on in the world, in terms of like you said, cooking, the military, get a chance, give somebody an opportunity to go see the world, even if it's against their will, is enlightening. Teaching somebody how to do things, even if it's against their will, they're still gonna walk away with a set of tools that they can use in life. I wholeheartily agree with that. I think I don't think college is for everybody, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, here we are in a system where they're force feeding people. You have to go to school. It's the only way to survive. Oh, by the way, it's going to cost you $150,000, and oh, by the way, you're going to have to take out a loan, and oh, by the way, you're going to be $150,000 plus interest in debt by the time you're even through school.
So, by the way, you can't file bankruptcy.
Oh, by the way, and you won't have a job either. I think the military is a perfect. That's what I did. It's a perfect angle for folks who need that life experience, who are not ready for college. And then of course the kicker is when you're all said and done, you finally respect what it's like to be a working person, to go through like the military, which is not easy, it's hard, and you're ready for college by the time it's all over. You're like, okay, that education is going to mean something, and it's all paid for on top of it. So yeah, if it were up to me, I think we would have a mandatory 18 months at least. In the military. It doesn't have to be a huge, long commitment, but 18 months to...
I think Israel is 2 years.
It's 2 for women and 3 for men.
3 for men.
Yeah, that's probably the perfect amount.
And when I was in Israel, there were protests by the Orthodox Jews who were definitely against mandatory military service for all citizens. Because up to that time, they were excluded because of their religious practices. That was their duty. And as we know now, that was overturned just shortly after my departure. And it was curious to hear that there were protests in Jerusalem, numbers of about 800,000.
That many people.
Wow. Pretty
protesting
number of
not going to take it away.
The Orthodox Jewish doctrine
Community,
did not want to be subject to the mandatory service of the armed forces.
I see.
Do you think that is something that makes Israel such a strong country, though, is they have such a large force of military just because everybody at that age has to?
Well, there's a lot of European countries that require that too.
Same thing.
Yeah. I'm not going to come out because I don't know for sure, but I'm not going to come out and say that. I think it's there's a lot of I want to say like Northern Europe countries where you have to put your time in.
I'll Google it while we chit-chat.
Google it.
But Israel almost has to be really strong just because all the surrounding countries want them.
Everybody wants them dead.
Yeah, they're in a kind of a bad spot, with respect to their neighbors. They don't really get along too well. But yeah, I think it's such a good idea. I mean, that separation of church and state modality, I think, is incredibly important too. And what the Orthodox Jews are trying to claim is that they want to have their cake and eat it too. It's like, hey, if you want to live in Israel, you're gonna have to volunteer yourself some level. Maybe it's not the military. Maybe it's even a social program, like a social military, like a workforce type of military.
Common Core,
Job Corps. I think they have something like that. I think that's super important. Just having that structure. A lot of people don't have that.
I think it builds responsibility in people.
It's huge. I would do it again. I didn't like the 8 years I did, but you know what? I was young. I take that back. I enjoyed. There was good parts.
It probably put a good foundation on who you are.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I definitely wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't think the way I think today without it, because I can look at everybody else in my family, and there's one common denominator that sets me apart from everybody else, and it's the fact that I opted.
You got me as your friend.
I got Maxx as my friend, and well, actually, it was because of you that I went as an electronics technician, because you went ahead of me, and that was important because I didn't know what I wanted, and I didn't have the strong math scores to get that job right away.
From your ASVAB?
Yeah, really? Yeah. They're like, you're kind of a dummy. But we'll see if we can't get you some waivers. And I was like, okay, I'll take them. I was told to go electronics technician or nothing. It's nice. So they made it work. I got in and I got through everything okay. It was hard. It's probably the hardest, believe it or not, it's probably the hardest school I've ever been to.
It was like 2 years.
Yeah, it's 2 years of I like to come back to and blame the LA Unified School District for most of my lack of education. My formal education really sucks. And I feel like I just kind of cruised through school having a good time, but not learning anything.
Yeah.
And because you could go, there's some really good private high schools around here. And the students that show up to my work as interns are fucking smart, super smart.
They've been well prepared.
Yeah, they're super smart, and they blow me away. They're that smart.
Well-read. They can write. They can argue. They can make a point. Yeah.
They can articulate. Comprehension is through the roof.
We had riots and fights at our high school.
We have
a daily basis.
Yeah.
Maybe not riots, but there are definitely fights every single day.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, we come from the fucking. You get your lunch and the ketchup is the vegetable. That kind of place,
I have an answer for the military service question.
Yes,
there are quite a few countries that have mandatory military service. Some of which are prescribed for a year or less. Some of which are limited to 18 months, and then there are those which are longer than 18 months, which include Armenia, Angola, Central African Republic, Chad, Cuba, Cyprus, Eritrea, which I've never heard of, Guinea, lots of Guineas, Iran, Israel, Kazakhstan, North Korea, South Korea, Kyrgyzstan, Libya, Mali, Mauritania, Mozambique, Myanmar, Niger, San Tome,
pretty much
Senegal,
everywhere.
Singapore, Somalia.
Yeah.
A lot of freaking places, including Thailand.
Wow. What's funny about that list is
I had no idea it was that many places.
It's a lot of places.
I figured, it's crazy because I figured having that kind of foundation is going to build a stronger society, a stronger culture. But you can look at that list and you can pick out all the fucking bums in there. North Korea. Did you say Chad was in there?
I did.
All these
It's probably a good way to control the people too, because you're basically going to put everybody through your whatever your mind control program is. Maybe not mind control.
Mind Control 2.0.
Yeah.
I got the system.
MK Ultra.
MK Ultra. We're going to talk about PK. PK, psychokinesis. Watch the documentary on psychokinesis. YouTube is cracking me up, man. I swear, I jump in there. Part of it, I think, is because the I Don't Know For Sure show is on my computer. So when I jump in there, I probably see some things that you've been dabbling in.
Probably.
And things that I've been dabbling in. But yeah, man, I jumped into like these long, 2-hour-long documentaries on.
So do you think it's real or not?
So here's an interesting thing. The one thing that caught my attention, make sure I'm on the right camera. The one thing that caught my attention was the dude that went around the world putting random number generators all over the place. The whole idea was an EEG can measure brain waves, right? So you have all these little electrodes on your brain, and it's going to measure a bunch of shit going on in the head. So according to him, and this is a scientist, right? This is a guy who's got a PhD, and he writes, publishes papers and stuff. According to him, when September 11th went down, he had a huge anomaly, like a huge spike in the data with respect to the random number generators.
So I've heard that before, but what I don't understand is you say a huge spike in the data. What does a random number generator actually do?
So the idea is you have a random number generator of some design, right? And they have kind of, I guess, an antenna or something that's coming out of it that's just feeding noise into it. And based on that feedback that it's getting from the antenna, it's just randomly generating noise, like numbers, right?
So if it's randomly generating numbers, what does the noise? How does the noise affect what it's?
Yeah, so I think the noise. Clearly, I don't have a real good answer. I'm just trying to.
You don't know for sure.
Yeah, I don't know for sure. Hence the name of the show. So, the idea, I think, is they establish this baseline kind of noise field.
Yeah.
Based on just shit in the air, right? Radio waves and other electromagnetic interference.
So is it random because the noise is random and it generates number based on like the intensity of the noise?
Yeah, basically all you're looking at is a graph with a line across it, like you would see any kind of linear graph.
Oscilloscope or something?
Yeah, like you'd see like an oscilloscope or something. And the idea is for some reason when September 11th happened. Now this thing is shielded from, like I said, radio waves, any external inputs whatsoever. So that whole spectrum, that whole electromagnetic spectrum, supposedly isn't
filtered out.
Yeah, isn't working on this. So I guess around the world, like there was this huge uptick in I don't know what it was manipulating, but just there was a blip on the screen from September 11th, and they're like, "What does this mean?" I don't know.
I remember hearing that on.
Yeah, and then they took it like a step further, and they started doing these controlled studies with these random number generators, where they would set up some kind of light system that was just kind of going back and forth, and lights would blink, randomly, and the scientist would tell the person that was doing the experiment to just focus on manipulating the lights with your mind. And now I'm starting to remember. It's kind of a double slit. You remember the double slit experiment? It's like a classic physics experiment. How it's a wave particle duality phenomena that an electron experiences. It's an electron, yeah. Or an atom. So you're shooting photons at a slit, and you can shoot one at a time. And then if you go and you look at the sensor as it's going through like a double slit wall, it creates this kind of...
It's like astrophysics.
Yeah, it creates this pattern, and it's a quantum mechanics statistical phenomena. They just kind of prove it. But the idea is can your mind interact upon it? Not observing it with any senses or anything, but just using your mind to manipulate it. And according to them, people can manipulate like the double slit stuff.
Yeah. Is that like the same study where they've proven that just the act of being monitored makes things react differently?
See, and that's because when you're dealing with things on such a tiny scale like that, like such a small scale, that anything you put on into the system is going to influence the system. That's the big problem with that. It's like you're seeing a guy shoot basketballs, and the only way to measure how many basketballs the guy is shooting is to take your own basketball and try to hit it. Yeah. It just completely interacts and interferes with the whole thing, right? And that's the kind of level we're looking at with this double slit thing.
Sounds like it wouldn't be a very accurate way of measuring.
Yeah. Oh, that's definitely not an accurate way.
How do we get onto this topic? What are we talking about?
Oh, ESP and PK.
PK.
Yeah. So this guy's science. So this guy's science. He comes back and he says that people are capable of using their conscious influence on these random number generators. He's like, we've done hundreds and hundreds of studies. We've got thousands of hours. We ran this over years and years and years. The data concludes, especially meditators, people who meditate regularly, can definitely manipulate it. And he's got little error bars and stuff, and it sounds like really, legitimate. It sounds legitimate to me. Even though I'm not a scientist, I just dabble a little bit into some of this stuff. I was like, well, he's obviously a kind of a peer-reviewed scientist. He's published shit. So there's something there that seems kind of interesting. It's strange that, whatever this guy or whoever else was doing, I watched a bunch of documentaries, but whoever else was doing the whole world experiment and kind of measured this collective conscious reaction to the September 11th thing sounded interesting to me. Not sure what to think of that.
I'd be curious to see after Trump was elected if there was a collective consciousness.
Yeah, I think I think they're still they're doing the experiment. So the fun thing is like you could get on here, like on their website, and participate in the experiment. So you basically they have a nice website, and you can. I haven't done it yet, but it's connected to some random number generator system in their lab somewhere. You could log in and run through the test, and then they're going to collect your data.
So what I wonder is like, when the spikes happen in the random number generator, how does it correlate with, like, say 9/11?
Yeah.
Did it start to spike right before 9/11?
3 to 4 hours before it happened.
So they can use this as a way to maybe predict crazy shit.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
How would they pinpoint where?
That's the problem too. It's kind of like probably knowing an earthquake is going to happen. Just
that's what remote viewing's for.
You don't know where, and that it brought in remote viewing. Yeah, that was definitely the angle I think they were starting to kind of talk on. But it sounds like there's a bunch of these independent research groups doing these things, and they're all kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
Which is good. There's a correlation there. So I don't know, man.
So when I think of psychokinesis, I'm more thinking of
that's moving stuff with your mind, right? Like Uri Geller type of stuff.
Yeah, like I don't know, bending spoons or something like that, which I think is just some sort of parlor trick.
That's gallium. Yeah.
Do you think that there's any legitimacy to any of that type of stuff?
Well, you know how Uri Geller made all his money? He was an oil dowser. Like, he would get in a helicopter with large corporations. They would fly around land, and he would use his AK, his
dowsing rods.
He would use his psychic skills to pinpoint oil reserves, like reservoirs of oil in the ground.
And he was successful?
Fucking totally successful. He's got a big, huge mansion in London somewhere because of it. So, that's an interesting thing. I don't think you could last long in an industry by just guessing.
Especially one as formidable as oil.
Yeah.
Because those guys are honest.
Oh, man. Well, I'm just wondering, how many...
No, they want their oil.
How many failed attempts do you think you could get out of them before they fire you because you're phony?
Probably one.
Probably one, right? So if he's made enough money to accumulate millions and millions of dollars...
But he also did like TV appearances and shows and stuff.
He got nailed on Johnny Carson, right? You remember that story?
Right? I don't remember.
So you know who Uri Geller is?
I am familiar with who he is and a couple other individuals that
he was like big in the 80s.
Same
super
kind of
big.
persona.
I remember him on TV. There was this craze in the 80s, 70s, 80s. It was kind of a revival, a resurgence of psychic abilities. Yeah. It was hip. It was like
all the rage.
Like the Flat Earth Society of today. Everybody's just on board.
That went on until like 10 years ago, I feel like.
Oh, man.
It was like every other infomercial was call Cleo. And
yeah.
do you remember Cleo?
I remember Cleo.
But
that bitch. Yeah. Oh my God. She was on all the networks.
I think they got sued, actually.
Call Miss Cleo and I tell you your fortune. Yeah. Like, come on.
That wasn't even her real accent.
She was just she was an actress.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Uri Geller would get on TV. He would do crazy stuff like pull out an old wrist. I remember this as a kid. I remember doing this when he was on TV. He'd ask you to pull out a wristwatch from like an old wristwatch that doesn't work, and then he would be like, what would he do? He had the classic like make sure it doesn't work. Make sure it's a legitimately broken thing that stopped working. Make sure it's a wind-up watch. Right, like all mechanical, not a battery, and he'd have you wind it up, all right, and most people, you got to realize this is America, right? So they're not super bright. so most people that are watching this, pulling out old broken watches, winding them up, holding them in their hands. He's telling them, and then he's like, "I'm going to send some psychic energy to those watches, and we're going to make them work," right? And I mean, just imagine how many people watching that, during primetime television. Pulling out a watch that really just probably needed to be wound up, literally, just needed to be wound up. Put it in your hand and get that thing going, right? So in some ways,
people actually fell for that. Like,
I fell for it. I was only 7, but
he's telling them to wind it up, right? Don't they know how to operate their own watch?
Well, a lot of people stop using their watches because they stop working.
Yeah,
they just don't understand how they work, and maybe they've tried winding them up and it just wasn't working. So like, fuck this watch, just get a new one.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I worked in watch repair for 5 years.
Yeah, you know it more than anything. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, and in some ways he's really smart he was really brilliant with this virality, like this social proof that he was creating. And then he would use he wouldn't say this, but he would use like gallium spoons. So basically, gallium is just a metal that melts at
heat
slightly above room temperature. So leaving it in your hand.
He would rub it.
Yeah. So he would just generate heat, and then that gallium spoon would just bend and fall off. Yeah. And where he really got busted, he got busted on the Johnny Carson show when he thought he was coming on to do an interview with Johnny Carson, and Johnny Carson had a table laid out with all of these tricks. And so
one by one, he just freaking murders them.
He just
did he try?
Yeah. Well, first he was like trying to get out of it, right? Yeah. And he was just looking. It was just embarrassing. I felt bad just kind of watching it. Like, oh man, talk about a shitty spot to be in. A shitty spot to be in. And then you kind of never heard from him. He kind of collapsed. He got into oil dowsing and made up $1 zillion there. And just kind of, he was a huge friend of Michael Jackson's, turns out.
So what do you think? I mean, he was obviously scamming everybody.
Yeah.
But if he's really finding this oil, do you think he was getting lucky? Do you think he's got?
Yeah, I don't know. See, I
think a man clever enough to pull the wool over that many people.
Maybe he was clever enough.
Yeah, maybe you'd imagine that they'd be resourceful and clever enough to also be able to pull the wool over a different set of people.
Yeah. You're probably right. You probably nailed it right on the head. Like, it probably wasn't very hard to pick places with oil. Already, if you're in an area that's known for oil, chances are good that it probably doesn't take too much missing to get it right. When you get it right once or twice and it's big, you're probably making a huge amount of money from it.
I'm just wondering who did Uri Geller's interview and intake process. So I see here on your CV that you got run off the Johnny Carson show. Was that
How about them spoons, huh?
Yeah.
How about them spoons?
Are you going to be using spoons with us, sir?
Dowsing spoons?
Well, it looks like you made Arco a fortune. Yeah, well, that's a plus.
Yeah, but it's always just enough bait to get you get your foot in the door so you can look around it and see if there's a little more down that.
A lure.
And then you get down the hallway, and then there's like, you hear a noise, and then you turn and you're like, oh, we got to go that way. Yeah. And before you know it, you're down this just 4-hour fucking mind trip.
Do you remember Sylvia Brown?
Oh man,
could not stand that.
I do not know Sylvia Brown.
You don't know who Sylvia Brown is? She was always on our
Montel.
I was going to say Arsenio Hall, but Montel Williams show.
Yeah. She was another psychic who And she had one of those voices like she'd been smoking for 40 years.
And sweetie, she's dead, sweetie.
Yeah, it'd be people whose like kids were missing and like, she's dead, honey. She's with Ezekiel, her spirit guide.
Yeah, hold on, let me talk to her real quick. Yeah.
She said she's cool.
Linda, are you there?
Yeah.
You there, sweetie?
She said take care of her cat.
And give me $50.
Yeah, she was a huge phony, and like people, and she was one that had a lot of followers. Sold, I mean, millions and millions in books.
Oh man, I remember I bought a book that had a Sylvia Browne interview on it. It had something to do with ghost stories in this area.
Yeah.
And she wrote a story about the Pacheco Pass.
Oh yeah, I remember
the haunted
Pacheco
Pass.
I was in one of the box of books you gave me.
Yeah, probably.
All your paranormal books.
I'm through with this shit. Let's give it to Maxx.
I just realized your email. Okay.
Oh, Paralore Gene?
Yeah. I just figured it out.
Yeah, that's because Maxx and I had our own. We had another podcast in those days, and we did paranormal stuff.
I recall. You mentioned.
Yeah.
But then we had to prepare for that. This one we're like,
fuck it.
Winging it.
You know what's weird though is when we do shows like this, and we hang out a little bit before the show, we're really trying. It almost seems like we're trying not to talk too much.
Yeah.
Because we're like, well, shit, I don't want to talk about what we might talk about later. Then
I don't want to blow
real.
my wad at dinner time. Yeah, I got these revelations I need to save for the show. Like,
so we don't ask like, what have you been up to, or just like, you hungry? Yeah. Kind of.
Let's eat, not talk. Let's just be quiet about everything.
As the tension mounts.
Yeah, it's so funny.
Like
man.
sand through the hourglass. These are the days of our lives. Are soap operas still a thing?
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm sure they
hugely so.
Like they are on air for like 40 years. There's like people that are like 90 years old who've been on it since they were 20.
Just a dirty, sleazy TV show where there's melodrama and overacting.
TV show.
Give me some of that delicious soap opera. Yeah. I don't know. I got into that whole PK thing because I was researching consciousness a little bit. It's just a thing it's if you get on Twitter, there's a lot of talk about like what's going on today in the world in terms of not so much the turmoil, right? That's just kind of the side effect. But a lot of people are talking about, are we living like the end times? Are we in the Armageddon? Predicted things that have been predicted for like millennia, things that have been predicted for eons. Are we like starting to experience that now?
I don't know. I thought that was Y2K.
Or it could be anything. It could be World War II.
Haven't people been seeing the end times since like the beginning times?
Yeah. Oh yeah. But it just seems.
I mean, I have heard that there are a lot of like, I guess, good arguments on how the signs of the end are possible now.
Are popping up.
Yeah, where they didn't used to be, I guess.
I think. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of strange, and then you get into like these. You get in. I start there, and then I end up at like consciousness. What is existence? What is reality? Are we a simulation? Are we not a simulation? Do we come from a being of higher power? Is there no free will? Is this all kind of like something playing out?
Is this the doobie talking?
No doobie. No doobie. This is straight shooting. Just that's how I ended up on these like crazy weird documentaries, because you put that into YouTube, and then you show up to YouTube the next day, and you have like a whole new playlist of shit to look at. That's just like, hey, that's kind of interesting. Let's go check that out.
Yeah.
And then you start running into guys that are talking about crystals and stuff, and you're like, oh fuck, okay, that's way down the road.
Crystal Skull Explorer.
Yeah.
I still get emails from that guy.
Do you?
Yeah. Joshua Shapiro.
What's he up to?
He's still selling his Crystal Skull story.
Just going at it, man. That thing's got like, it's an evergreen. See, that's the thing about that industry. It's evergreen, right? There's always going to be charlatans. There's always going to be, psychics.
And it's all about book. Write your book.
It's all about writing books. It's probably about courses now, like membership courses. It's all about, like, I can teach you something. I could teach you how to be psychic, right? Or I could teach you how to be a healer, a Reiki level 3 healer.
Theta 7.
Energy, Theta 7. I'll teach you how to communicate with
Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise.
So how do we, as a society, like for example, I'm a business owner and I'm looking to scale a business, and I believe that over the last decade I've acquired some experience and insight into the realms of health and wellness, and I'd love to put together some sort of product or service that I could scale.
Yeah.
And using the online medium as a way of reaching different audience. The intention is obviously to do good or provide a quality service to the community, to mankind, but also earn a living in the process.
Yeah.
How do you differentiate between all of the bullshit programs and misinformation and someone who's actually trying to provide a legitimate offer?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. And I think I personally, and I think this like what we're doing here is a good example of what more people need to practice, and that's letting your guard down, be super honest with what you're doing, believe in what you're doing, and if it sucks, that's okay, as long as you're honest at the end of the day and you're not trying to be something you're not. I think real people gravitate towards that.
The authenticity.
Yeah, and that's kind of the reason why I wanted to do the show format that we're doing here. It's like, I don't really care if it sucks. I don't really care if nobody watches it. As long as we're being honest about what we're doing, eventually something's going to take hold, right? And I think it's the same way with business too. It's if you're going to create a course, the stuff you put out there, you should with conviction, you should believe in. All right, you shouldn't be selling something that you don't believe in, because that comes across pretty easy and people can see it, right? And that's what a lot of people do too. So you got to be either super convincing or so crazy that you believe in your own stuff. Like if you're doing like the psychedelic, if you're doing like the paranormal stuff, right? Like half of those people literally are crazy and they believe the shit that they're doing. The other half know that this is just a hustle.
The other half know there's half those people that are crazy.
Yeah.
And you can make money off
and
them.
and you could ride that pretty easy. And it's the same. I think it's the same with real business too. I mean, this day and age, it's never been more important to be transparent and build a following, like a tribe of people. You know what I'm saying? You need a tablet.
I just want a piece of paper.
Oh, I got paper. That's another good idea.
Okay.
That's another good idea.
Such a pretty book. I don't want to fuck it up.
That's made out of
I like that you say that.
Paper, right?
It's recycled from elephant dung.
It's elephant shit.
I've heard of this company.
Oh.
Isn't that great?
It is. Thank you.
Oh fuck! Fire.
And they recycle that elephant dung with pure authenticity.
So as you were saying, transparency,
Yeah, I mean, like, okay, you
authenticity.
put something together that people that's going to help people, that really will work, right? That's a start. And then you got to get out there and preach it, like you fucking
You got to believe in it.
like you believe that shit. And then that's the beauty about social media. There's a lot of noise in social media, but at the same time, it's never been easier to reach people.
Fair enough.
You just have to see, and that's the rub, right? It's like it's so easy to reach people that it's too easy, and everybody's trying to reach people. So the next step is like, okay, I got to do a better job of making myself clear. That way, the people that do see my stuff understand what it is I'm trying to do. So you got to be very clear in your intent. And that's easier said than done. Like I'm really bad at that. It's called, like branding, right? Branding is a good example of that. I have to hire people to make graphics and stuff, and my message never comes out the way I want it to. It's like I said, it's easier said than done. So if you can come at it from a very clear message, like my goal is to teach you how to maintain a healthy weight, teach you how to eat correctly so you don't get diabetes. Or so we can reverse the disease and the aging problems that you're experiencing right now prematurely because of your unhealthy diet, that kind of thing, and demonstrate it, and then use social proof through testimonials and stuff to drive that message home, and then you start building that tribe. It's not easy, man. Not easy.
To that point. I was just discussing with a colleague and. Someone I admire earlier today, Isaac, and he has a small business up in Tacoma, Washington. He does personal training. He's had a gym for a number of years, different sizes. He's done group courses, boot camps, one-on-one, and he's invested a lot of time and energy in order to learn exactly what he's best at. And what he's going through right now is a downsize. He's getting a smaller space. He's refining the services that he really wants to focus on. And he described it like this, Stephen, I understand the three things that I do the best. I know how to I know how to leverage my skill set in each of those areas, and I know how to sell it, and I know how to get and recognize qualified clients that would fit well into all three categories, so that it's just a very harmonious experience. If someone came to me with a request that was outside of one of my three areas, it's not a good fit. I'm going to pass them on to another person, not because I couldn't do it, but because it's not a good use of my time as a businessman, and it doesn't align with the values that I'm really trying to practice in my day-to-day.
So that's a good point, man, because it sounds like the guy is very clear in his intent. He knows what he wants, right? And that's the hardest part. I think most people fail there. Like, they don't even get off the ground because they don't know what they want. They don't know how to get there. They don't.
Most people just don't want to work for something.
That's a big thing too.
You gotta put the time in.
Yeah, a lot of people are looking for magic tricks, and that's another thing to look out for.
Come to my seminar and make money.
And you know what? I'll be honest with you. You can go that route too. There's plenty of people looking for. I mean, why do you think we have diet pills? Diet pills are that's why we have GNC and Vitamin Shop, man. It's because people are looking for constant magic tricks. They're looking for shortcuts, hacks. It's there are certain keywords that you could use. This is an interesting thing. There's certain keywords that just drive people to buy shit. There's certain things. There's a really good copywriting book, and the guy, it's called Cashvertising, and the guy that wrote it has basically outlined like what he calls the Life Force 8. It's like the 8 things that people just cannot live without, right? And Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Abraham Maslow had his hierarchy of needs, which basically kind of outlines
like shelter, warmth,
security, food, the social aspect. And ultimately, once you've had all of those needs met, you get to the very top, and it's self-awareness. You're self-aware. You're thinking. You're thinking outside the box. You're not a lemming anymore. But there's certain things that you can just tickle in the people, and they can't help but buy things. It's the whole idea of that last piece of cake sitting on the table, and you've already had a piece of cake. You don't need another piece of cake, but man, there's that last piece of cake. If I don't take it, somebody else is going to take it. And that's your message, right? It's like, how do you convey that last piece of cake in your message to whatever it is you're selling? And that's the magic. Here's a beautiful thing that I discovered about Donald Trump, which is kind of two things that shouldn't be in the same sentence. You know who Scott Adams is? He's the Dilbert guy. He's the guy that created Dilbert. So that guy got started as a hypnotist, right? Or he did a stint as a hypnotist. And that's an interesting job, right? I mean, that takes some serious training. And you have the ability to influence people, the non-linguistic programming that goes into it. It's a real thing. Hypnosis is real. And he had predicted that Donald Trump was going to win the presidency long before he said, like, I think it was like the very first debate, he was like, Donald Trump's going to win this. And this is when everybody's up on stage.
Because he knew how to hypnotize people.
It's not so much the hypnotizing, it's the influence, the technical ability that he possessed, according to Scott, was like, I've never seen somebody so technically proficient in the power to influence people. He's like, this is textbook stuff that he's doing, but he's doing it like a wizard. Whether he's doing it on purpose or if he's doing it just because this is just his natural way is irrelevant. The fact that he's doing it this way is going to win him the election. The simple things of like repeating the same shit over and over, no matter how.
So do you think that's a form of hypnotism?
Yeah.
I was actually going to bring this up because I watched the Louis Theroux documentary on hypnotism.
Yeah. Oh, that was a good one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I don't know what I think of. Have you ever been hypnotized?
Never. Not like you would see at the fair.
The fair. So I got pulled up at Six Flags Magic Mountain years ago with Marshall.
Oh, okay.
And did the whole hypnotist show. But I don't know what I think. Like, looking back after watching that documentary, I remember doing the things that they had me do.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it was
under
because I was hypnotized
or something,
or just because I'm like, well, I'm part of the show, so I'm going to stand up and yell whatever.
You don't want to look like a dummy. Yeah.
But I don't know if I believe in like regular hypnotism. I don't know if you could like hypnotize people to make them.
I think you can. I mean, here's one legitimate case study, right? Athletes like Manny Pacquiao and Lloyd Mayweather, right? Those guys, a lot of kickboxers, a lot of professional fighters. have coaches that hypnotize them, right? And they swear up and down by the stuff, right? So in one way, whether it's a placebo or not, like you feel
like the power of suggestion.
No,
yeah.
it's. I think it has so much more to do with like an induced state.
Yeah, the idea is to get you down into like some kind of receptive beta awareness or something. You get these beta waves or something.
I mean, supposedly you can't get anybody to do anything they wouldn't normally do.
Right, and I think that's what during the Louis documentary, that's what the dude was saying. He's like, yeah, I'm not going to be able to turn you into a Manchurian candidate where you go off and kill somebody or something.
You're just lowering their inhibitions to where they're not caring.
I think you just kind of you get somebody into this kind of receptive meditative state, which through a number of techniques you can get them there relatively quick. And then once they're in the I want to call it suggestive, but they're in a kind of an open,
receptive
mindfulness. Yeah, kind of a meditative state.
So you'd say you can't hypnotize somebody who does not want to be hypnotized.
Right.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
I know that
I've heard that more than once.
That would make sense because I've been to seminars where I believe hypnotism was utilized as a way of influencing the crowd for the purposes of selling products and services.
Yeah.
And it's incredible to watch an entire room full of people at the end of a presentation line up to buy some shit that.
Yeah.
And you're like the only one sitting down. You're like, oh my God, this really comes down to self-discipline, awareness, willingness to listen with an open mind, not being sold on something just because someone on stage is giving it to me.
So you're referring to a type of hypnotism that's not like, they're not
I'm talking about subversive hypnotism.
It's just like almost
the same way that Donald
control,
Trump is using whatever
techniques
he has, whether they be innate or learned.
Yeah, like
influence.
Like a good example that Scott Adams used was during I think one of the debates where I don't know who it was that was called him. I asked him a question about it was a kind of a feminist thing, right? Because he was getting hit pretty hard with that, and according to Scott Adams, any politician would have fucking collapsed on this question because it was a loaded question.
Yeah,
it was basically meant to just keep him in the corner and confess that he was kind of a womanizer, right? But what Donald Trump said to diffuse the whole situation was he yelled out like fucking something about Rosie O'Donnell, and the whole crowd just burst into laughter, right? Yeah. So he completely took this whole thing that any other politician would have just collapsed on and diffused the whole situation by saying Rosie O'Donnell or some kind of...
So he tried to make a joke.
He played it off.
Played it off.
And he put the focus away from where they wanted it.
Yeah.
So how is that hypnotism versus just directing somebody?
Yeah, so it's definitely a technique, like a technique in programming.
Yeah.
To diffuse the situation in a way that you make it funny. His constituency, the people that are voting for him, all kind of resonate with the fact that they don't like Rosie O'Donnell. She's kind of like the epitome of what they dislike about a woman. And so all he had to do was just say that, and the question just fell to the ground, right? So that's just like one example. But
that's just kind of how people are and how people communicate, right?
You would say that, right? But if you were somebody who didn't have like that skill, you would go someplace to learn it, right? For guys like Donald Trump, it's probably just comes natural. He's not sitting in the classroom learning this stuff from experts.
How can I manipulate?
With however much television experience he has, probably more than Hillary Clinton did, because he's had shows.
Oh yeah,
he's on all the time. He's probably had professional coaches.
He spent the last 20 years.
He's a professional. This is what he does for a living.
He's an entertainer.
Exactly.
Yeah, you got a good point.
He's there marketing and building a brand, whether he's on stage or off stage. He doesn't give a shit. He's got no vested interest.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because any publicity to him is good publicity.
The guy's been in show business forever. It seems like
forever.
So it makes sense that all of it's kind of a trained, programmed system.
Doesn't mean he didn't have talent to begin with, but you learn along the way.
Yeah. No, it's interesting, but I came away with like, I kind of get it, because I studied a lot of copywriting, and in copywriting you learn a lot of the same language, right? The way you write something out is, you explain who it's for, what it does, all the features and benefits, and usually by the time you get down there, you're convinced that whatever it is you're selling is for you, right? And there's a lot of descriptive, like a lot of non-linguistic words and pre-framing that you do to set people up. as a common reader, as a consumer, you're not thinking about this. You're just thinking you're reading an article. But all of this stuff is designed to sell you, to get you to whip out your credit card and make that purchase.
So how do you think this is any different from like the military and the people in the military training people to like salute and
it's the same
give
thing.
their lives for anything, right?
It's the same thing.
It's just the same tactic with a different end goal.
Yeah, most of us just kind of go through life like thinking that's just the way life is.
I pledge allegiance to the flag.
But the smart people are, I mean, the media does a really, really good job with this, right? They have the little scroller ticker thing that repeats every 2 minutes. It's the same message.
Oh, same with the news. I don't think the news
media
changes for an entire day.
Yeah.
There's got to be 90% overlap from day to day.
Yeah.
Only 10% new material.
And,
it's just pumped at the 5 o'clock, the 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock hour, and then again and again.
They're using these dark arts of communication, like these dark arts of influence and persuasion. The media does a really good job with it. Donald Trump is a wizard at it. And that was something. That was something that I didn't catch, and that guy Scott Adams brought up, and I was like, wow, you're fucking right. The reason why this guy did so well is he pretty much hypnotized an entire nation, by using non-linguistic programming and other influential persuasive techniques that.
Keep
anybody
off balance, off center.
Anybody that's on a stage that's successful, makes tons of money, is using the same shit.
So how would you define hypnosis?
Oh fuck! I don't. Oh, let me grab something.
I don't know for sure.
I don't know for sure.
I don't know for sure. Hypnosis.
Gentlemen, at this moment, I'd like to bow out and say thank you so much for hosting.
Oh yeah, thanks for coming over, man.
It's good to have another voice in here.
Catch up with you guys in a week.
Let's do it again. I had fun. Now that you have an idea of what we're up to.
I'm liking it. Yeah. I think that there's a lot here.
Yeah, it's fun, right?
I'm having fun.
How often do you get together and just have a purposeful like conversation, where you're forced to talk?
I dig it.
For 3 hours.
Well, and listen.
3 hours. We're forced to talk for 3 hours in a row.
And listen. I think that's something I was writing about very recently, that I could practice listening a lot better.
Yeah. Yeah, we all can. And that's one good reason why we're doing this too, is I tell Max, I was thinking this is a good skill that we could have, just being able to communicate and think about. Instead of like what I'm going to say next, listen to what the guy has to say and let's process that for a few minutes.
My buddy Curtis says you have 2 of these and 1 of these, so you should listen twice as much as you talk.
It's a good point. Well, anyway, have a good time, man. Thanks for coming by, Steven.
Thank you very much.
And
all right, man.
Maybe we'll see you on the next one, hopefully, if you're up to it. Yeah, super good. I'll leave the ceremonial Steven microphone up. I got to get a new one. That's the old one, so I got to get some new ones.
Is there an off button?
Nah, you're good. You're good. We got this. All right, take it easy, man.
Thank you so much.
It was good seeing you. Yeah.
Don't erase the sign.
No, I'm gonna keep that. That's a really good sign.
Yeah, we can't write backward. So
fuck no. Like in an artistic way.
We'd have to get 2 mirrors.
Knowing this room, it would have 2 mirrors.
Yeah.
The way I set things up, like a Rube Goldberg machine. It's crazy. Yeah.
Which the periscope shut off a while back.
Yeah, it looks like we're gonna have to kind of figure that out. Well, there was people jumping in there. I could see 1 or 2 at a time, and then they would fall off.
I could go back and fix it.
Yeah, I have no idea if the live one is going still. Still seems to be going. That's good.
I'll take a look at it while you entertain the troops.
Yeah. Yeah, anyway, folks, just we're hanging out, trying to get this, getting all this technician stuff squared away. We got dogs. Oh, it's Steven. My dog's going crazy. Didn't get the memo, I guess. He's a good guy. I really like Steven.
Yeah.
I met him at a. Where did I meet him? He was doing one of these. He's a really talented chef. Like he cooks like really good.
Yeah, we should have him cook something.
I know. Well, I met him at one of these pop-up dinners. You ever do one of those pop-up dinners where you show up to somebody's fancy house and there's like 10 to 15 strangers and somebody's cooking dinner?
They did that at a restaurant in Santa Cruz, or like a brewery.
Yeah.
In Santa Cruz, where they had like a pop-up. Somebody came and cooked like Ecuadorian food.
Yeah. Same concept. He was cooking. He did this whole like 8-course vegan meal dinner or something.
Was he a chef? Like culinary?
He's not like
studied in the culinary arts.
He's done a lot of kitchen work.
Okay.
But he's never like ran a restaurant or anything like that. But yeah, man. So I met him there, and then was it there? No, maybe I got a massage first. He's a massage therapist. Like he's one of these guys that he's a hustler, man. He grinds. He does whatever he can to make some money.
Oh, cool.
And he's really good at everything he does.
Yeah.
You know. Yes, I think I got hooked up with him because he does really good massage work.
Wow, cool.
And again, he's like another one of those guys that like he's constantly learning. He's constantly like spending money and trying to invest and like make his business better, improving. Self-improvement. He's a self-improvement person. And so ever since he's been a buddy of mine, and I have him. You want to come in and join our show? There's 5 cameras in here. You got candles. Do you have Jesus candles?
No, I got German candles.
Oh, nice. Oh, very nice. I got Jesus candles. You have German candles. Oh, I'm gonna have one when I get done with this next one. I'm gonna eat your candles.
Are they edible?
She said edible. Her mom. You wouldn't believe the stuff I've recorded.
We are live. There is no turning back.
Her mom always sends stuff from Germany, and
I remember you getting a lot of sausage and stuff.
Yeah, and since her mom's a butcher, and her dad was a butcher before he died, get all these like smoked sausages and stuff from Europe.
So is it really an actual edible candle? Is that a thing?
I think the the declaration for whatever it is, INS immigration. You know, the forms that you gotta.
Oh yeah.
Declared them as candles, but she got a bunch of tasty meat products.
Oh,
kind of
nice.
Like sausages, like cured sausages. You ever go to the liquor store and you're buying a 40 and you're about to set that down, but then you see all the jerky on the side there, and they got those nice pepperoni sticks and stuff. Yeah, it's like that.
One of my guilty pleasures, I must admit.
Me too. Not the 40 anymore, but definitely could go for a good pepperoni.
The beef sticks,
Can't go wrong there.
40.
You get the old deuce
Sitting on our front porch.
Couple of deuce, oldie.
That's a 22, sir. That ain't a 40.
Deuce. 2 of those.
Well,
I go 44. Yeah. We don't need no 40. We need a 44. Yeah, I'd buy 2 because you get 2 for you get 2 Bud Lights. I get Bud Ices. You get 2 Bud Ices for like $4 or $5.
Bud Ice. Wow.
It's just malt liquor, man. It's like super high.
Natty Ice Light.
Woo! Super high alcohol content.
That's what we drank as like recruits right out of boot camp.
Yeah.
Natty Ice Light. So disgusting. I don't think I've had one of those since.
When I finally got off the boat and I was allowed to live out in town, it was me, my buddy Sean, and my buddy Andy. So Gene, Andy, and Sean. So we called the place the Gas House. And we would get, it was so much fun because we would have the Gas House, and it was the kind of place. It was a double wide trailer in Washington State, in Everett, Washington, and our landlord was like a slumlord. So he's like, I don't care what you guys do with the place, I'm not fixing anything unless it's like emergency. But you know the rent's like $900 a month. So between 3 guys getting BAH. It's like money in the bank, you know?
Profiting.
Oh, so good. And it's a double wide trailer, so it's like this 4-bedroom place, 3-bedroom place, big 3-bedroom.
It's like $1 million house around these parts.
Dude, it was like a huge house, like a $3 million house.
My double wide was a $3 million house.
My double wide was a $3 million house.
That'd be a good song. I got a $3 million double wide.
Oh, man, that would be a good one. But it was so much fun because... man, so many good memories in that place. We'd have parties, hats and glass parties, and we'd dress up. All our neighbors were on the ship, so everybody kind of on the block like knew each other.
Oh, that's cool.
We're all young, right? It's the kind of place like I would be getting off of work. The door wouldn't be open because the people that lived there weren't home yet. But there would be people parked and they'd be in the front yard drinking beer, kicking the hacky sack, waiting for us to get home.
Yeah.
That kind of place.
Yeah.
So much fun.
I remember I lived in an apartment similar like that.
And one of the big things that we would do, like during the week, was we would sit. It was during the time of like the PlayStation 2 when it was like brand new, and that James Bond game was like the best.
Oh, I remember that.
First person
GoldenEye?
Yeah, it was the best first shooter. And
how many PlayStations are we up to now?
like 4. Yeah, we're still at 4. But yeah, we would drink Bud Ice. That's how I got on. That's where I got
Ice.
it. Yeah, so we would go buy like a 12-pack of Bud Ice, me and Sean, and we would sit there, and we would get close to polishing off that 12-pack of Bud Ice and pass out on the couch playing video games. And then we would take off. We had every day of the week mapped out because every fast food place in town had like a deal. So you go to Dairy Queen and you can get like 2 double cheeseburgers for like $2. So every day of the week was a deal somewhere. So man,
that's how it was when I lived in Virginia Beach, also in the Navy.
Yeah.
But we knew every day where they had different dollar beer nights.
Oh,
and that's kind of how we planned our. And same thing with like dollar beer or Tuesday tacos.
Yeah.
You know, we'd go to every place and get the bar. I mean, when you're like fresh out of the Navy,
dude, when you're 20 years old, 22, 23 years old, you don't get fat.
You need all the deals you can.
Yeah.
You don't get fat.
You don't get fat. I think about like today and I go, man, there's no way I could have lived a week like that.
Oh, dude.
You're polishing off a 6-pack a night and you're eating cheeseburger. You're eating basically like Taco Bell was a big plate because it was cheap and it was
open all night.
Yeah. We'd hit all the fast food, so all the carbohydrates, all the starchy, nasty fast food shit. We would just live on it. And we were still like ripped and badass. It's just so funny to think about that. Now,
All them days are long gone.
So many good parties and so much fun. Yeah, man, I remember that. Fuck.
Well, you could always join the Navy again.
Yeah, join the reserves.
Go back in.
Yeah. No thanks.
Yeah, I've had my.
I'll keep my memories. I'll keep my warm, distorted memories to myself.
I choose to remember the fun times and not the 3.5 other years.
I created a nice file, like a text file that had a list of like 30 things on it. Because somebody had told me somewhere that at some point I'm going to want to go back to the ship.
Yeah.
And
30 things that reminded you didn't want to go back.
Yeah.
Good idea.
So I kept that with me just in case as like my fail safe.
Every time you thought about maybe I should go back.
Yeah, because they're like, somebody was telling me, you're going to re-enlist, man. You're going to re-enlist. You're going to want to go back. You're going to be on shore duty. You're going to be thinking about all the good times you had.
Haircuts. Shave every day.
Fuck that.
Wake up at
Muster.
Muster.
It's 7 in the morning or whatever, 8 o'clock in the morning. Sweepers.
Man your brooms.
Fuck, give the ship a full sweep, both forward and aft.
Gosh.
Remember that?
I'm surprised you remember that.
I don't know. I took some brain pills tonight. Shit's just popping out.
Some Alex Jones Life Force or whatever he calls
I
it.
took some, what do they call it? Bacopa. There's this, have you heard of Bacopa?
No.
Bacopa is, it's really good for those people who, kind of like me, has a thought on the tip of their tongue, but they can't find the words. Right?
Is this some of them weird herbal things that you're just kind of making fun of people getting hypnoptized into buying?
Probably, except for this shit works, actually. It does work to some level.
Yeah.
Like I feel, usually when I'm talking, the words are there a lot faster. Most of the time they're not.
Yeah.
I stand there like a deer in headlights trying to think of the word to say that I want to.
Is this like Adderall or something? I have a friend that
No, you can buy it.
goes to school and he takes Adderall.
Adderall's meth, man. That's all
Is
it
it?
is. Methamphetamine.
He
Yeah.
said it makes him like
It's a
get straight A's.
It's a pharmaceutical methamphetamine. That's like Ritalin. Ritalin is meth for children.
Really?
Yeah, and for some it'll give them focus and energy.
Ritalin. Meth for children.
Yeah, it pretty much is.
What else you gonna do?
And for others it's a complete different effect. Yeah. I think it's like the opposite. Like if you have problems with attention and focus, then having a drug like that will give it to you. And then on the other hand, if you have focus and attention, you take it away, you're fucked. Yeah, that kind of thing.
All those pharmaceuticals scare me.
Yeah, Adderall's an interesting drug though. It's like the Silicon Valley smart pill.
Yeah.
You know, like everybody takes it to stay up and work 18 hours straight.
Yeah, my friend I'm talking about is
Yeah.
a Silicon Valley guy.
Yeah, it's a hip thing in the Silicon Valley, but it is meth. It's just pharmaceutical meth. That's all it is.
Diet and exercise will cure all ailments.
It will. It's part of the
Maybe not all.
most.
Yeah.
Most. Yeah, I definitely feel like there's definitely a basic human requirement that you have to do, whether you like it or not, and one of them is exercise.
Yeah.
I hate that.
If you want to like live and feel good.
Yeah, I think it's good for mental health. Like you feel like you're making some progress. Like if your day sucks and you still go to the gym, you go, wow, at least I did that.
Yeah.
Because for most people, they can't even do that. You know,
Dude, well, like this is the first time I've been here in a while where I've been able to walk in here without crutches.
Right.
And so I'm really because I haven't been able to exercise hardly at all. I mean, there's stuff I could do.
Yeah.
But it's just such a pain in the ass.
You're in a recovery period of your life right now.
I'm trying not to like exert too much. I just want to get better. And like I told you, I was just started walking and then I just barely stubbed my toe and I think I broke the damn thing. Turned black and now it's all swollen up. I guess everything's just like super
sensitive and tender and weak
and you know you want to get excited. It's like, all right, my foot's good again. I can go start climbing, and then I just barely touch it and it does that. So I'm walking again, but I guess I can't really jump back into my normal activities. But I definitely don't feel as good all around as I did when I was, you know,
when you were
active all the time, and I could tell a huge difference.
I go into such a level of I wouldn't call it like severe. It's definitely not severe depression.
Yeah. I mean, you just feel better when you're out doing stuff, you know?
Yeah. And it comes back, we're coming back full circle to being outdoors more, right? That's another big thing that most of us are missing. Yeah. I know I'm guilty of this. I can spend an entire week and be outside maybe an hour total. You know, that's getting to my car and getting somewhere and then getting back indoors, you know, not really taking it all in.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a sad thing. That's something that needs to change. Get those priorities in order, you know.
Well, let's go camping. We talked about it last week.
Yeah, definitely. I'm super excited about that.
Now that Thanksgiving's over, you just picked a date.
You have any good New Year's resolutions? I know it's not that time, but it's never.
Oh, man.
It's a good time to start thinking about them.
I do. Now that you mention it, it's not like I thought of it, but I definitely want to get back and do Cathedral Peak, finish that climb.
Right on.
I want to get my AMJ license.
What's that?
That's my American Mountain Guide Association's instructor license.
Now, why would you go and get something like that?
Because I want to. It's mainly just a goal. Yeah. I think we talked about this a little bit. It's something I'd set out to do, and I've been working on it for a couple of years.
Right.
And even though you could get a job guiding without it, it's a lot better to have that. And it depends. Yeah. So I'd like to start guiding one day through Pacific Edge because they do outdoor trips. I already work there I teach some classes there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if you have your SPI license, it just opens up a lot more doors of where you can guide. Like there's certain parks that you can't legally go in and guide unless you have a license. And there's only the AMGA is one of the only actual licensing agencies in climbing. I think there's one other one, but they're the only two that actually get taken seriously.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. And so, how long does it take to get that?
I mean, it just depends.
When do you think you're gonna get it?
Well, I was supposed to take I've already done the course.
Okay.
You know, I was scheduled. I paid for the exam. I was scheduled to take it this October.
Oh, so you should get it pretty quick then, huh?
Well, I just got to get back into I should be able to. Yeah.
It's more of a physical thing, right? Or do you have to take a written test?
No, you don't have to. Well, the whole exam is a whole weekend. It's like 2 or 3 days.
Oh, okay.
So you get down there and you spend a day or two with the guide or the instructor, and you're having to show them your skills. Like you have to know how to do rope systems, set up anchors, be able to do on the rope rescues, escape the belays, which is all climbing stuff. For if you're out there taking a group of, say, you know, one guide per 6 people is about the most that you want.
Gotcha.
So say you're taking 6 people out, you got to be able to know how to handle any situation you might come up with. Somebody gets stuck, how to go get them, all the different types. I won't get into all the situations, but you can get into a lot of types of situation, and you as a guide have to be able to facilitate, you know, rescues or anything that you may come up against. Say someone gets halfway up a climb and they physically can't get there no more.
Yeah.
You have to learn how to do almost like, they're called like 3-to-1 systems.
Oh, shit.
To where you could pull their weight up yourself.
Yeah, I can imagine having to rescue some fucking dude off a cliff.
And there are easy ways to do it. You just got to be able to do it and do it fast and do it efficient. That's the thing with AMGA.
Yeah, they don't
just being able to know how to do it
is one thing,
but you have to be able to not really think about it. So I was at the point where I thought I was good with it, but I've spent the last 4.5 months not practicing anything.
Yeah.
Because I kind of just wanted to put climbing out of my head for a little while.
Yeah.
So the next exam they have them in spring and they have them in fall. So the next one's in March. I don't know if I'm going to be ready to, because I have to be able to climb too and do all this practice. But what I am going to do is I have a buddy who's going to go take the exam also in March, and I'm going to go down with him.
Cool.
And the guy is 69 years old.
69, and he's taking it.
He's taking the exam.
Wow.
It's something he's always wanted, and he doesn't want to do anything with it.
He just wants to get it. It's a goal.
Yeah. And so I'm going to go down with him, and I'll probably just help him out with the test, and that'll be my practice, and then I'll take the exam probably next fall.
Okay.
So the injury put me off most likely a year.
Sets you about a year back.
So that's one of my goals.
That's a good one.
Also, I want to get in good enough shape to where I could go do the
24-hour thing in Arkansas.
Horseshoe Hill. Yeah,
Horseshoe
get through
Hill.
that. Those two were my big goals for last year, but the injury put me off, a while. But shit happens.
Shit happens.
As
You
they say.
could be stuck in bed for 3 years trying to fight some crazy unknown disease.
Yeah,
that happens.
Yeah, that's why I'm even more motivated this year. It's like you have this huge setback, it just gets you like fired up.
Yeah, there's almost a yin and yang to that, right? Like you can't really acknowledge the good stuff without having a little bit of that bad stuff.
Yeah.
Because when that good stuff comes in, it's like it feels way better.
Oh, it's amazing how much you take for granted.
Yeah.
Just walking. I mean, like the last few days, it doesn't even seem real that I'm walking around without, because I've just gotten so used to it.
Just having the sense of gratitude there, going, fuck, I could walk again.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Of course, I still have to wear this enormous boot, but
it's all right. I seen a guy at work today just with he had like the full 9 yards, like had an operation on his leg, and he's crutches, and he's going to school, and it's just a mess. You know, he's got books and everything, and it's just like, fuck.
I mean, a lot of people just sit at home and they get on disability and they just
rot away.
Shit,
take advantage of the free paycheck.
Yeah.
But that's not living, right? It's like the money's there, but you have to fake it and pretend that you're not hurt, so you don't get caught, so your money gets taken away from you.
I mean, even if you are, some of the people are really hurt.
Yeah, oh yeah, there's definitely those too.
But I'd rather, and I probably could have made more if I went on disability from, working in the NTS for so long.
Sure.
I put a lot of money into disability.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I'd rather be out there doing what I like, working a little bit, being around people, than sitting at home.
Yeah.
Doom and gloom, collecting the paycheck.
It's so weird when you think about like purpose. When you start to ask yourself, you don't have to ask the question, why am I here? That's kind of like a rhetorical thing. But you go, hey, I'm a living human being. For whatever reason, I'm here. I'm conscious, and I'm working my way through this life. I could either take it and be a victim and sit on the couch and rot away and waste it, or come up with some purpose. Whether it's... it doesn't have to be like a fucking Mother Teresa type of endeavor,
It's like, not to bring up Choice Center again, but one of the things they said that I like to think about is events themselves are all neutral. Yeah. It's how people view them, right? Because something good for somebody is something terrible for somebody else.
Yeah.
So you just view everything that you have to deal with as something positive.
Or something.
It's like that, when shitty things happen, right?
Yeah.
You just try to view it that way and figure out what kind of silver lining you could get out of it.
Yeah.
What good does it do somebody to sit there and like feel sorry for themselves and talk about how unfair everything is? Guess what? Life is not fair.
Yeah.
Deal with it.
It's
Get over it.
That's the biggest problem we have. One of the biggest problems we have is people are just feel victims. They feel like they feel victimized, like they've been dealt, which is ironic in this country of all places, probably one of the best places to live in terms of opportunity. Even under the guise of like this government that we're running, you still have the opportunity to like do a lot, make a lot of money if you want to, live
and go into any area that interests you.
Anything, and you can learn anything if you want it. It's like never been a better time for that.
When I went, I told you I worked at the watch store for quite a while.
Yeah.
And he escaped Romania when it was communist, right?
Yeah.
And he said when he went to school, I don't even know what a certain age, but at some young age, you have to pick what your profession is going to be. And your choices one of them was a watchmaker, a tailor, and he had like a few things like that. And you had to like choose one through school.
Wow.
And everything was like geared toward that's who you're going to be.
Yeah.
And you didn't really have much of a choice.
They have that kind of like in Europe too, like in Germany. Like my wife went through, because education's pretty much covered, right? Yeah. So early on, they'll start to kind of pick out the people that have an aptitude for for higher level things like technical work. You know,
kind of give everybody an ASVAB and see where they
yeah. And what happens is by the time you reach like middle school, they've figured out if you're smart enough to kind of go this route, or you're normal. Not I wouldn't say normal, but you know, you got the aptitude that takes you this way.
Yeah. You can go this route, or unless you're normal, then you can go.
Yeah. Well, it's like I think my wife ended up going to like a technical university because she had an aptitude for it, but her brother and sister didn't, so they ended up going to like the public school system.
Yeah. So could you change your mind, like, because some people just don't give a damn about.
Oh, it's crazy. It's kind of weird because. I mean, there is the freedom to change your mind, except for they're not going to pay for your schooling.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? There is a catch. And I can see from my wife's perspective, she didn't really go the path that they intended for her. I'm not sure what path that was, but she's jumped around. She doesn't know what she wants to do. She's doing something crazy now. Not crazy, but she's doing something related to education and stuff. And but like her friend, you know, is a lawyer, and I don't even think she likes it. You know, but this is kind of like the trajectory she was sent on from like a young age. You know, just a combination of things that's kind of led her to the point where she's doing all of this paperwork, and she's not a paperwork kind of person. You know, there's no way. It's like me doing it. I'm like, fuck that. You're asking me to do, you know, draft up all of these complicated contracts and stuff like that. That's what you want to do for a living.
Well, my cousin got like a full scholarship to Berkeley.
Yeah, he's a smart guy.
He was valedictorian.
Yeah.
He wanted to be an accountant. So he went through all the schooling that, spent his whole, you know, college time looking at
trajectory.
He got out and he hated it. Couldn't stand the type of people he worked with, didn't like what he was doing. And he got in, you know, he works for the DWP now. Goes around and checks meters.
Water and power stuff?
Yeah, and he's done that for years. And
yeah. That's interesting. I would think like a guy, like, what does he do for fun? Like, does he do anything?
Maybe like sports. He likes sports.
Is that what he? Okay.
I mean, he watches them. I don't know.
That'll work too.
Yeah.
That's another interesting thing about people, right? You and I, we don't watch sports. We're not sports people, right? We don't really get into NFL. Or maybe you'll see the Sharks, right? You'll go to.
I can see hockey games. They're fun to watch live.
Will you? Do you ever watch them on TV or anything? Or
I will every once in a while.
Maybe because you have a team, right? You have a dog in the fight, kind of. So.
Yeah, there's a local team.
Yeah.
You know, San Jose. But really, I probably don't watch many games until like it's the end of the season.
Yeah,
and then I'll watch a few.
I just wonder if like the reason why organized sports, team sports, is so popular is because people have a void that they need to fill. You know, maybe they don't have like a hobby or something that they really are passionate about.
Gives them something to like get excited about.
It gives them something, you know, and most of us don't have a day job that we give a shit about, right?
Yeah.
That's just an ends to a means right there. That has nothing to do with anything.
Gotta feed the monkey.
Gotta fucking feed the monkey, right? So along comes organized sports, and you're like, oh, it's like TV almost, where you're just like, oh, something to do. Cool, you know.
Yeah.
And it's not like it's super complicated, right? But you can still follow it.
Yeah.
You can still get into the stats, and if you really want to get obsessive and make a little money, you can get into the fantasy the fantasy and the betting. And now you feel like you have some fucking shit going on. You're like, oh, I'm excited, you know.
The thing that always has driven me crazy about NFL.
Yeah.
Is going to places where they're playing NFL and people are going like batshit crazy in a restaurant. You know, like yelling and screaming. I mean, it's cool. They're excited about stuff.
Yeah, it's emotional.
It's hard for me to get that excited over.
Yeah, it's amazing how people can suspend their belief, you know, their disbelief, right? The suspension of disbelief. They get so wrapped up into something and they get emotional and tunnel vision kicks in and they don't care who's around. I've done it.
Yeah.
I've done it. Yeah.
I mean, I do it. I get excited about the Sharks, but if I'm there watching the game.
Especially after drinking or something.
That's true.
You know, it's usually like all bets are off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, we've been doing this for almost 2 hours.
Wow.
We're doing pretty good.
Time is flying.
Yeah, how you feeling? Not too bad?
Not too bad.
You got to take a leak or anything?
Probably fairly soon. I got a Rockstar tea and a water in front of me.
I got it. Are we broadcasting over there?
Oh, I don't think so. Oh, yeah, we are.
Oh, shit. We're on fire. We're doing pretty good. Yeah. So far, it's been pretty constructive conversation we're having. I don't know. I'm.
You know what's up with this mannequin challenge?
What's that? What?
Have you been seeing this online?
No, what are you talking about?
I don't know. Everybody's posting this stuff where, like, I don't know if they're filming it with their phone or what, but they're going around the room and everybody's like posed like they're mannequins.
Really?
Yeah, and they just go around the whole room and people are like in different. I mean, it looks weird.
Yeah.
But everybody's doing it, so I didn't know if maybe
it's like a phenomenon, like a viral phenomenon.
Yeah, it's like remember how everybody was like planking.
And the ice bucket challenge.
Yeah, an ice bucket, and everybody's doing the mannequin challenge.
Oh, that's hilarious.
It's weird.
I had no idea. We should do it.
We should do it. Just us two.
We should
So
conform.
somebody has to film it. So
we'll just keep the cameras pointing at each
pass
other.
it back and forth.
Are we done yet?
Yeah, I thought maybe you might know something about it.
I haven't seen a video yet.
Okay.
No, I have no idea, man.
Well,
We'll have to look into that, and then
after
we'll have to make one for the next one. Yeah, that's so funny.
You almost need a lot of people, I feel like, to pull it off.
Like a room full of people to make
Yeah.
it good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not very fun if it's just two people. They're pointing the same camera at each other, or they're each have a phone and they're pointing at each other.
One that was kind of funny and it's kind of messed up, but it was like it's hard to do a mannequin challenge with grandma.
Oh shit!
And they went through the whole room and everybody's like completely frozen, right?
Uh-huh.
And they went to the grandma who must have had, she had the shakes, and so she's standing there and it's horrible to laugh at, but it's kind of comical to watch. So they go through the whole thing and then you can see grandma standing there with the glass.
Oh no!
And her hands just going crazy. Like,
Doing the mannequin challenge.
Yeah.
Ah, that's so fucking funny. Oh man. Oh shit. Well, hey, let's call it quits.
all right,
I'm
sounds
feeling pretty good. Starting to warm up here.
Quit while we're ahead.
Quit where we're ahead. Yeah. Okay, man. Well, that was fun.
Indeed.
And let's fucking do it again next week.
Next week sounds
All right.
delightful.
Everybody, until next time, Max and Gene.
Bid you adieu.
I don't know for sure, but that's what it is. All right. Later. Well, that was fun.
Oh, indeed, sir.
Oh, indeed, sir.